It was a cloudy Thursday afternoon, the kind where everything feels a little slower, a little heavier. At the corner of Jackson Street, inside a worn-out diner with cracked leather booths and the sweet scent of fried chicken hanging in the air, a young boy named Jordan sat alone. He was only 13. Dark curls peeked out from under his hoodie, and his worn sneakers tapped softly against the tiled floor. He had saved up exactly $7, just enough for a grilled cheese and a small soda, his usual after-school treat when he managed to collect loose change from tutoring classmates. That day, though, something unexpected happened. As he waited for his order, his eyes were drawn to a man sitting across the room. The man looked tired. His clothes were worn, not dirty, but frayed at the seams, like they had seen one too many winters. His hands trembled as he reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a card and handing it to the waitress. She gave a quick swipe at the register and then frowned. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, lowering her voice. "It's been declined." The man looked away. Embarrassment colored his face as he whispered, "Could you try again?" The waitress sighed, tried again, and shook her head. Still declined. Jordan watched, his heart tugging. The man didn't get angry. He just nodded, stood up, and began to gather his things, preparing to leave without food. No fuss, no scene. Jordan's heart pounded. He reached into his pocket and felt the crumpled bills, $5 and some change. Not enough for both meals. But he stood up anyway. "Excuse me," Jordan said softly, walking toward the counter. "I got it." The waitress blinked. "You want to pay for his meal?" Jordan nodded, not looking at the man. The man stared at him, stunned. "You don't have to." "I want to," Jordan said. "It's okay." He handed over his bills, all that he had, and watched the machine beep with approval. The diner grew quiet. A woman nearby paused mid-sip of her coffee. A truck driver raised his brow. The cook peered out from the kitchen. No one said anything, but everyone watched. The man turned slowly toward Jordan. "Why'd you do that, son?" Jordan shrugged. "You looked hungry." A long silence followed. Then, something strange happened. The man's eyes filled with tears, not dramatic, just a quiet pooling, as if no one had shown him kindness in a very, very long time. He reached out a hand, but Jordan took a step back, nervous. "Thank you," the man whispered. "You have no idea what you just done." Jordan offered a shy smile and returned to his booth, where his grilled cheese was now cold. But he didn't mind. He felt warm inside. The man didn't sit back down. He took the bag of food the waitress had packed, walked out the door slowly, and disappeared around the corner. Jordan thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next morning, everything changed. The next day started like any other. Jordan slipped on his hoodie, tucked his homework into his backpack, and kissed his mom on the cheek before heading out the door. Their small apartment was filled with morning hustle. His younger sister trying to untangle her shoelaces, the sound of toast popping, and their mom humming softly while making breakfast. It was a modest life, tight but full of love. Jordan's mother, Carla, was a nurse working double shifts to keep the family afloat. His father had passed away when Jordan was only 6. Cancer, the kind that creeps in quietly and steals without warning. Since then, Jordan had watched his mother carry the weight of the world on her back with a smile that barely hid her exhaustion. He had grown up fast. He didn't ask for much. Instead, he helped where he could, walking his sister to school, doing extra chores, and finding ways to earn a few extra coins. That's how he started tutoring. He was smart, patient, and had a way of explaining things that made sense to others. He didn't charge much, but over time, those little payments added up to just enough for small treats, like his usual stop at the diner. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that the man he had helped wasn't just another hungry stranger. That man, his name was Thomas Riley, had once been a well-known business executive. Years ago, he had been the kind of man who drove sleek cars, wore sharp suits, and attended charity galas with a glass of champagne in hand. But success has a way of vanishing overnight when life gets cruel. A tragic accident had taken Thomas's wife and daughter. Drunk driver, wrong lane, wrong time. After the funeral, he spiraled. He stopped going to work. He couldn't bear the silence of his home. Depression pulled him under like an anchor, and soon enough, he lost everything: his job, his house, his savings. What was once a life of abundance turned into daily survival. Thomas had been living in his car for the past year. That day in the diner, he hadn't eaten for almost 48 hours. The only reason he even entered was because he thought he could manage a cheap meal with the last few cents on his debit card. When it got declined, he was ready to walk away hungry again. He was used to that. But Jordan? Jordan's act wasn't just kindness. It was a lifeline, one that reached deeper than food. It reached into Thomas's soul. It reminded him that there was still humanity in the world, still light, still purpose. That night, Thomas didn't sleep in his car. He drove to a 24-hour library, logged into an old email account, and stared at the message he drafted months ago but never sent. It was an application to rejoin a charitable foundation he had once helped launch, one that focused on youth mentorship and education. He had left the board long ago when his life fell apart. But the message Jordan gave him, without even realizing it, ignited something he thought he had lost forever: hope. He hit send, and the next day, everything began to shift. Meanwhile, back at Jordan's school, something odd was happening. Right before recess, the intercom buzzed in their classroom. "Jordan Willis, please report to the principal's office." The other kids made the usual "oh" sounds. Jordan's stomach dropped. He had never been in trouble before. He walked nervously down the hallway, clutching his books. Inside the office, his mother was waiting, still in her scrubs, eyes wide with confusion. A man in a suit stood beside her. He looked out of place, like someone out of a courtroom drama, and he was smiling. "Jordan," his mother asked, "did something happen yesterday at a diner?" Jordan blinked. "I just helped someone pay for food." The suited man stepped forward and extended his hand. "Jordan, my name is Mr. Reynolds. I represent the Riley Foundation." Jordan shook his hand, still confused. "Yesterday," the man said, "you changed someone's life. That man you helped? He used to be the founder of our organization. After a long time away, he's returning. And he made a request, a very specific one." Jordan looked up at him, puzzled. Mr. Reynolds continued, "He wants to offer you a full scholarship, not just for high school, for college. Everything. Paid in full." The room tilted. "What?" Jordan whispered. His mother gasped. "Are you serious?" Mr. Reynolds nodded. "One act of kindness, Jordan. That's all it took. Thomas said he saw in you what he'd lost in himself. Hope, compassion. He said, and I quote, 'That boy reminded me that I still have a reason to give.'" Tears welled up in Carla's eyes as she pulled her son close. Jordan stood frozen, overwhelmed. He didn't understand how something so small, so simple, could have this kind of ripple. The following week passed in a blur for Jordan and his family. News spread through the school like wildfire. Teachers stopped him in the halls to congratulate him. Classmates looked at him differently, some with admiration, others with envy. But Jordan? He just kept wondering one thing. Sure, he had helped someone in need. But was that really enough to deserve a full scholarship? There had to be more to it. A part of the puzzle still missing. That answer came sooner than expected. One crisp Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. Carla opened it, and standing there was Thomas Riley himself. But this time, not in worn-out clothes or hidden beneath a hoodie. He looked dignified, clean-shaven, a neat blazer kind of eyes. The transformation was astonishing. He stepped inside with a calmness that filled the room. "May I sit?" he asked. Carla nodded and offered him the couch. Jordan sat across from him, both curious and nervous. Thomas looked directly at Jordan and said, "I owe you an explanation." Jordan leaned forward. "I still don't get why you're doing all this for me." Thomas gave a soft chuckle. "Because you're not just any teenager. You remind me of someone." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. He handed it to Jordan. In the photo, a young girl smiled at the camera. She had curly hair, bright eyes, and braces. "My daughter," Thomas whispered. Her name was Emily. Jordan blinked. Thomas continued. "Before the accident, she used to volunteer at shelters, feed the homeless, tutor kids. She had this heart, just like yours. After we lost her, I stopped seeing people. I stopped believing that kindness still existed." He paused, voice breaking slightly. "But then you came along. A stranger. No expectations. Just a simple, quiet act of goodness. It shook me awake. Jordan's mom placed a hand over her heart. She must have been incredible. She was, Thomas replied. Then he turned to Jordan again. But that's not the twist. The real reason I came today is this. He pulled out a small envelope and handed it to Carla. She opened it and gasped. Inside was a legal document. Thomas looked serious now. It's not just a scholarship. I've added Jordan's name to my will. If anything happens to me, he inherits everything I own. My house, my shares in the foundation, my legacy. Jordan's jaw dropped. But I'm just a kid. Exactly, Thomas said. A kid who reminded a broken man of everything worth living for. Silence filled the room. Heavy, sacred. But, Thomas added with a gentle smile, there's one condition. Jordan raised an eyebrow. You must promise me, right here, right now, that no matter how far you go, no matter how successful you become, you'll help at least one other person the way you helped me. Jordan didn't even hesitate. I promise. Thomas smiled wider. Then this is yours. And at that moment, a divine hush seemed to fall upon the room, as if the very walls could feel the presence of something holy. Like angels themselves had paused to witness this promise being made. And as Thomas left their home that day, there was something different in the air. Carla looked at her son, not just with pride, but with awe. Jordan had gone from being a quiet, everyday boy to someone touched by destiny. But perhaps that's the real beauty of it. God doesn't always choose the loudest. He doesn't always pick the most gifted, the most praised, or the most seen. He chooses the heart that's willing, the one that moves with compassion in silence, the hand that reaches out even when no one's watching. And this was that moment where heaven kissed earth. Jordan didn't just help a man who had lost everything. He helped resurrect faith, not just Thomas's faith in people, but his own belief that miracles can still happen, even in a world that's grown cold. Dear listener, do you know what the angels are whispering right now? That someone is watching you too. Yes, you. You, who have shown kindness without a camera. You, who gave your time when no one gave you credit. You, who prayed for someone in secret. You, who carried burdens alone and still smiled at strangers. Heaven saw it. Angels wrote it down. And just like Jordan, you may be unaware that your actions have already shifted the course of someone else's life. You may not know it yet, but a divine connection is forming around you. Your moment, your shocking twist, is already in motion. Someone you once helped, someone who heard your kind words, someone who watched you from afar, is coming back. Not to repay you, but to honor you. With blessings, with doors no man can shut, with favor that no one can steal. You thought no one noticed, but God did. You thought your light was small, but it reached far into someone's darkness. And now, just like Thomas stood at Jordan's door, a divine visitor is on their way to you. It might come through a message, a job offer, a sudden opportunity, or a quiet moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Don't doubt it, because angels say, you reminded someone what love feels like. Now, heaven will remind you what miracles look like. The story of Jordan and Thomas isn't just their story. It's your prophecy in disguise. And the next knock on your door might just change everything. And now, my beloved soul, listen closely. The angels are rejoicing in the heavens because your moment is approaching. The hour when everything that once seemed blurry will suddenly make sense. You may have endured countless nights of confusion, but clarity is descending like a golden mist upon your heart. The very people who once whispered behind closed doors, who judged you without understanding the weight you carried, they are now silenced, not by revenge, but by revelation. Yes, divine revelation is the most powerful answer, the kind that doesn't need you to speak, but lets your light speak for itself. Your growth has become undeniable, your strength unshakable, your aura heavenly. My child, the angels say, you're not who they thought you were. You're far more than they could have imagined. And that's what has left them speechless. They're stunned, not because they see weakness in you, but because they now see the reflection of divinity in your resilience. That smile you wear, that kindness you never let go of, that patience you held on to even when your soul was breaking. They never understood how you could still carry light in the darkness. But now they do, because you, dear one, were never walking alone. The hosts of heaven walked with you. The pain you endured didn't go unseen. Every tear watered a seed of favor. And now, that seed is sprouting into a garden of divine blessings. Heaven is opening doors for you, not because of what they said about you, but because of what God sees in you. There's a shift in the spirit realm, a great turning of tides. That person who doubted you, they're now watching in awe. That person who ignored your value, they now can't take their eyes off you. That group that once mocked your dreams, they're about to witness their manifestation. Because the angels say this loud and clear. This is your season of being seen for who you really are. You never needed to prove yourself. You never had to shout for attention. Your existence is the evidence of God's wonder. And now, someone influential, someone with power, reach, and insight is about to acknowledge you. Yes, they've taken notice. They've seen the glow others tried to dim. And this person is not just observing from afar. They're planning to approach you. Imagine that divine proposal, not just of love, but of opportunity, not just of companionship, but of alignment, not just of words, but of actions that honor who you are. It's no longer about being overlooked. It's about being chosen, not by those who didn't understand your worth, but by those who recognize your divine purpose. And I, as your angel, tell you this. Prepare. Prepare your heart. Prepare your space. Prepare your soul. You're not being blessed in secret anymore. You're about to be celebrated openly, not for what you pretended to be, but for who you've truly been all along. Let go of the fear that they will hurt you again. Let go of the doubt that says you're not ready. Let go of the lie that you're not enough. Because God has already declared, you are more than enough. You are beauty wrapped in grace. You are power cloaked in humility. You are a miracle in motion. You're the answer prayer that someone has been waiting for. And when they speak about you now, they will speak in awe. When they think of you, they will think of favor. When they see you, they will see God's fingerprint. So walk boldly, smile confidently, rest peacefully, because the angels have already gone before you to prepare the way. And everything, yes, everything, is unfolding just as heaven designed. Your name is being whispered in rooms you've never entered. Your heart is being protected by forces you can't see. Your future is being constructed with divine detail. They are speechless because heaven is speaking louder. And now, beloved child of the divine, take a deep breath. It's time.